Okay, I think I got my ducks in a row now. All right, so let's minimize that. I have a Word document that might help you. It's in the X drive, you know, your normal folder. It's called Tuscan Colors. I'm going to be going through the process here. And so I don't need you to take notes because I've got all the colors here. All right. I don't know if you noticed the back of my room, but I've got a couple of markers back there that you guys have access to, just one or two. So you'll have access to those. So let's get this thing started. A bigger desk. All right. See that a little bit. First thing is when you do this, you're going to put down a white piece. Oh, you guys can see my screen. Sorry. You're going to put down a white piece of paper. Let me just show you my screen. Sorry. Show. Okay. So it's going to look like this. These markers they're going to do what we want them to do, but they will bleed through your flimsy. And I don't want them to bleed through the flimsy and get on my green desktops. That makes sense? So we're going to tape the paper down. That works. Tape the paper down just underneath it so that your ink doesn't go through your paper and onto my desktop. Make sense? Now, if you get a drop of ink on my desktop, I'm not going to yell at you or anything like that because it's going to happen. Someone's going to do it, but try not to. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to, you don't have to tape down much. It's just to kind of doesn't move around a little bit like so. And just kind of sits on top. Cool. All right. Now, the guy, I think I've shown you some of these pictures, but the guy that trained me, get out of that. He told me, just like I told you on some of the other stuff, is that you're trying to communicate your idea with your client, but you wanted to do it fast, right? We're clear with that, right? I'm not making you guys do some of this stuff really quickly and get it down on paper. He also wants it to look like kind of unrefined, like, again, we're not done. And so watercolors are a really good way to do that because watercolors, if you've ever done watercolors, you dip the brush in and you kind of push the puddle around and you kind of chase the puddle. It looks very unrefined. It doesn't look all like stay between the lines. But the problem is, if you've ever done it, it takes a long time. Watercolors are they take a long time. If you have crap loads of money and you can spend, 10 hours making a rendering, with watercolor, then knock yourself out. Great. And typically that's not the case. So he came up with a process to make the drawings look like a watercolor without using watercolors. And he uses these chart pack ad markers that we're going to be using in here. Not all markers work the same. So these are the ones he told me to use because of the way that they basically unwork. I'm going to show you how to use these incorrectly to make it look the way we want it to look. Let me just show you some pictures. Labs, brown, read only. I should have this ready. Sorry. Same spot that I've been pointing you to. Let's see. That's not the one I want. So if you zoom in on it, do you see the kind of puddling that's happening there? That's kind of a watercolor appearance like that. That's the effect that we're looking for. You can see it there. See the puddling effect right there? This is warm gray 1. You'll be using that quite a bit because it's a very common color on the outside of buildings. And see the kind of the puddle going on right there? Oh, I was stopping. Oh, dang it. I hate that. Let me try this again. Sorry. Did it go away or was it ever up? Let me try it this way. Let's see if this works. It's just completely stalled. Ah, dang it. Okay, give me a second. I'm gonna have to stop and start again. Let's see. I have too many visuals going on and my software is freaking out. Okay, let's try that again. I'm gonna get back in again. Sorry. It's funny, it always happens period 5. There must be something going on in the afternoon that really makes it wig out. Okay, that should be all out, right? Okay. Let's try this again. Better? Okay, sorry. Thanks for telling me. Okay, so let's try that again. Do you see? Oh my God, it's just too slow. I'm not sure what to do. Does not like that picture on the side. Okay, I'm going to do this one more time. Ah. Sorry, guys. Give me a second here. It's just everything's kind of like stopped right now on my computer. Give me a second. It's just net support that's failing. Okay, try this one more time. Let me try it with just one screen. Support. Okay, try number 3. Can you see that? Just my screen, right? Can you see that? Okay. Are you seeing my hand move over reasonably okay? Okay, that's a good sign. All right. Sorry. Let's see. Let's try opening up. I'm going to see what's actually making this like not be happy. So for the video here, I'm coming to sketches, and I'm just showing you a couple of these things. Still seeing it there? Are they okay now? A little better? Okay, so if you look at the picture here, do you see the, I don't know, call it watercolor, just kind of blobby, kind of imperfect, lines or colors there. If you look on the stucco, or sorry, on the clapboard, you see the lines? You guys see my mouse moving okay now? All right, a little better demo. See the door, how there's a little bit of washing in the door there. That's what a watercolor looks like. Have you ever done one? It's kind of imperfect. It's just kind of meandering around a little bit. And he can do this with a marker and make it look all perfect, but he didn't want to. He wants it to look like a watercolor. Let me see what with one with stucco. Let's see. How about, there's one with stucco. So this is warm gray 1. It's kind of a brownish gray. And you can see the bubbling going on there. This is the effect that I want from you. I want this kind of, again, I'm going to call it a watercolor effect. And it just kind of bubbles around a little bit. You can see the tree again, see the shrubs on the bottom. There's that little wiggly line I was showing you guys, just really imperfect. And then the shrubbery goes kind of down below that, darker on the bottom, lighter on the top. You guys will have shutters, but they might not be the same color, maybe not the same, the same type of shutter. But basically, and then there's the ground line. He's doing, I think this is a cool gray 8 or something like that. It's a little bluer gray. Your guys is more of a browner gray. Notice that this professional even uses guidelines himself. Let's see, let's go next. There's not much on that one, huh? We'll look at the roof. No, never mind. That roof's not the one we're going to do. Let me get on to a different one here. Sorry, I'm going to go back and find another couple pictures for you. I don't know if there's a Tuscan one in here, unfortunately, but I'm not really caring about that. I'm just looking at the concept. Let's see. So I think I've shown you this one before, but kind of the same thing, just kind of stucco-y, you've got this kind of blobby thing going on, on the stucco. And they got the trees. You can do whatever you want with the trees. I'm not really that concerned about colors. When I was being all concerned about the colors, he told me to stop it. All we're trying to do is we're just trying to give the client something to like look at. So, it does, if your exact color for your palm tree is not this, then this is a terrible drawing. It's just not like that. Okay. You should just kind of, make it look pretty, for lack of a better word. This kind of stuff we'll do as well. This kind of in the background thing, so we can kind of crop the house so it doesn't look all empty from the outside. And we will also be doing sky. So we're going to create something that looks kind of like this, sort of. So I'd like to do that demo. All right. So we're going to start here. Let's tilt this just a little bit. So this doesn't have to be taped down or anything like that, obviously, because we're just going to color on it. Okay. So first thing, watch me. Markers, right? Agree that the caps should be up, right? Okay, well, in this process, we're not going to do that. So if I take the cap and I take it off, the nib is up, right? And that's the way we generally do these. We put them in and we store them this way with the caps up, right? We're not going to do that. We're going to turn the caps down. And we're going to do is we're going to leave that there for like 10, 15 minutes. What's going to happen is all the ink from the chamber is going to go which way? What does gravity do? It's going to pull it down, right? And it's going to go down, down, down. It's going to soak into this nib. And it's going to basically make it drip almost, because you got all this crappy ink going in here is going down, down, down. And it's going to just collect on the bottom. And that's what we want it to do. And that's going to give us our ability to make it look like a watercolor. And it's going to kind of daub onto our paper. Now, that said, you got to be a little careful, because if you get it too wet and you put it on your paper, it'll go whoosh, and you'll get this big old nasty puddle in the middle of your drawing, and you won't be a happy camper. So sometimes it's okay, just go off to the side, make sure, especially if you know one that looks like, ooh, that looks a little gushy, like it's almost, you can almost see the drip coming off. You might want to put it off to the side and get that drip off before you put it on. All right. So I don't know how this is going to go on the camera here, because I've never done it this way before. I've always done it in small groups before COVID. So here we go. I'm going to zoom in. I just want you to watch. I don't want you to try to replicate. All the notes are already done. I'm going to start with a just a base coat on my stucco. And I'm going to use a warm gray one. So I'm just rotating this around here, get my ducks in a row. I'm going to use a warm gray one. Now, the warm gray one, and I have no idea how this is going to look on the camera, is very light. Can you guys even see that? On the camera, it's going to be a little rough. So just kind of just follow me and you'll see what's going on. I'm going to use this warm gray one on my stucco. And it's going to be really hard for you to see it. I'll zoom in on it in just a second. I'm just going to move this around, just go around my stucco, and do this around the stucco. I'm really not being very careful here, because I'm going to go back over it again. Get those columns there. That's it. Wow, that took a long time, right? Now, I'm going to let it dry there for a second. And I'm going to do the same thing with my stones. Just going to put a warm gray one over the top of that. I'm going to use this as my base coat. And you'll see what happens in a minute here. So it's not really doing much, because it's very, very light. You can barely see it, agree? It's very, very light. And that's what it's like that on mine as well. While I'm there, I'm going to do the same thing on the roof. So we have a theme here. Warm gray one on almost everything to start. Okay, just so happens this Tuscan one just carries a lot of that. Okay. I don't really touch the bricks right now, so I'll leave those alone. Okay. Now I'm going to do this the best I can. We're going to see if this works. I have no idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back with the warm gray one. Can you see that puddle right above the garage door? See it kind of spreading? So you guys, can you see that on the camera okay? Okay, good, thank you. All right, so I'm not sure, I've never done this. Like I said, I've never done this way before. What I'm doing is I'm gonna use the word term daub. I'm not gonna push down, I'm just gonna let it fall off. You don't have to push down. The ink will come off because I've been holding this thing down for 15, 20 minutes, and that ink just wants to pour out. And that's what I'm letting it do. I'm letting it just kind of pour out, sort of improperly using the marker. And I'll get this kind of watercolory effect. It'll look better in a minute here, okay? Now, if I wanted warm gray 1, that could be it. That could be the stucco color, you're done. Some of you have that, depending on the color you want. Now, Tuscan has different looks. Like, for example, you guys may have seen some of the stucco colors. You know, if you did your investigation, it could, let me do the pale sepia. It could look something like this, and it could look something like this. I don't know if you guys remember some of those courtyard scenes and stuff like that, but watch this. I'm going to take, this is pale sepia, and I'm going to, I didn't turn these things over for very long. I'm just going to move this in here. This one's not gushing very well. Let me use the other one here. Can you see that kind of spreading? Do you see the spread there? That is the effect that we want. And it's going to kind of fall off. Oh, there we go. Going to fall off the marker. And we're going to replicate that stucco, that plaster. And the idea is we want that to look like a watercolor. Now, the only way it works well is if, you can see it spreading, is if it's really wet. I didn't put these down for very long, so it's not doing what I want it to do completely. And we're going to create that kind of watercolor effect. Now, don't do it this way, obviously, one or the other, right? When you do the, let me do the other side. Let me get another cadmium red here. That one's working much better. Okay, do you see what happened there? That's a much better marker there. Do you see the difference in what happened on the other ones? This is the one that's working correctly now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just, now you can tell you hate the stucco color or you like the stucco color, but that's what I'm doing. All right, and I'm just going to bring it in. And the idea is, can you see it spreading? What you don't want to do is you don't want to go like this. You just want to let the ink fall off of it. You want a little white in there. Leave a little white in there. Just kind of move it around, bounce around. And what you'll get is you'll get that kind of watercolor effect. I know it looks kind of crappy from zoomed in, but when you zoom out, the idea is we want this kind of watercolor effect. When we do our, let me zoom in a little bit more, zoom in. When we do our foliage, we'll start with like a darker green. And the idea here is we're going to just kind of put a darker green on the bottom here. See how it's kind of puddling right there? That's a good marker. Sometimes you'll get a crappy marker and just put it back. Or tell me about it. It might just be dead. If it's dead, let me know. So kind of darker color there. And then what we do is we come in with maybe a lighter green, like one that's a little bit more yellow green. And we'll put that right on the top. And the idea is we're just, because the sun's hitting it on the top, let me zoom in on that just a little bit. That's it, done. Don't try to make more of it than there is. Shutters. You may have a shutter. Let's see, do I have a good shutter color in here? I had one of those out and there it is. You know, let's say you have a shutter and it's kind of like a teal looking color, right? Some of yours are doing that. And the idea is, and just kind of pop it in. All you're doing is just get a little bit of color and they're done. Don't try to put too much color in there. It'll mess it up. Just a little, it's all it takes. All we're trying to do is give the client a little bit, whoops, sorry, wrong way, a little bit better picture of what's going on. Now I do want you to put that color even through the shadows. So like my shadow line is right here. So that color should have been up here as well into the shadow area. Okay. Oh, let's talk about the roof tiles. So the Tuscan roof tiles, if you did a little investigating, they're kind of a combination of grays and like terracotta look and almost like a darker red. So here's what you're going to do. Try to get these all in a row here. Start with the warm gray one, which we already did. And then you're going to follow with a little bit darker one. I'm going to go with the cool gray 3. So the cool grays are kind of a little bit more kind of blue gray. And I can't see that, huh? They're a little bit bluer gray. And I'm just going to go in there and just watch. I'm just going to dub, 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 tip, 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 tip. I'm just letting that ink fall off. Let me zoom in on that a little bit. Sorry, I'm not sure how much you guys can see there. Can you see it, or is it kind of reflecty a little bit? I can see what you see, a little bit reflection there. All right, and then I'm going to come in with maybe like a warm gray 3. And I'm just going to do a little tap, tap, tap. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create a series of colors that those tiles are, because they are. They're a mixture of different grays. And you can even come in with a little, oops, that's not the one I want. Desert tan. Whoa. Give me a second, I'm gonna go get myself. I'm showing you a lot of different colors here, and you get used to them after you've used them a couple of times. This is desert tan, just different colors. The names don't mean anything, by the way. They're just names. It's going to go ahead and drop this in. This hasn't been going along very much, but the desert tan kind of looks like that. I'm going to dab a little bit of that in. Again, I'm just barely touching the pen. And then here comes the scary part. Little cadmium red. And that was kind of the color I was using before. And we're going to do a little bit of that as well. So the idea is we're mixing it up. Letting that dab and leaving a little white in there. I'll show you a picture in a second. You'll see where I'm going. You know, and you make it look the way you want it to look. Now, if it looks a little bright like that, don't worry about it. We're just trying to give the client an idea of what's going on. Fascia boards. Fascia boards are going to be burnt umber. In fact, most of your doors and your trims are going to be a burnt umber. They're going to be kind of a chocolate brown, like a dark brown. They're going to go kind of like this. That's the wood, you know, the formation of the fascia boards. Notice I'm just getting a little bit in there. I'm not going too heavy. I'm not going like this. Okay, don't do that. Just barely touch it. If you do it once and then do it again, that seems to be the best way. And use the tip of a marker. You know, there's like a sharp point. Use the sharp point and just kind of tap, 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 tap. Work your way across. Okay. Same with the doors. Doors are going to kind of be like that. My door is a kind of a brown door. Just gonna pop that in, leave a little bit of white. Let it see how it's kind of, there's a pretty good picture. See how it's kind of coming together now. I would say done. I wouldn't even mess with that anymore. I'd say that's it. Wow, let's see the brick. Bricks are weird because remember that weathered brick that I showed you? I'm not sure what to do with that weathered brick. You're gonna have to just improvise a little bit. I got a couple of colors that might, I don't know. I have no idea how this is going to look, but the weathered brick is kind of almost pinkish. I don't know. Does that look right? Sorry, I know it's hard to see on there. I don't know. Let's say that's close enough. So that's what we're going to do. You leave a little bit of, see, I'm kind of puddling it there. Work it, work it. You might go, oh, you know, it's a little too pink. I think it needs to be a little bit more orange than that, you know? So then you come in with a color that you think's about that. And let's go back to maybe the desert tan. And you go, well, maybe that's, and kind of mix it up a little bit. So you have kind of a combination of it. You're just trying to create reasonably close, you know, that kind of, you know, weathered brick look. Maybe you start with a desert tan and go the other way. You're gonna have to play with those colors a little bit. I really don't care how the colors come out as long as I see where you're going with it. It shouldn't be purple, right? It shouldn't be green. It should be like, I kind of see where you're going. Okay, stones. The stones they're a little different. I'm gonna go with the warm gray 3, and I'm just gonna daub these in, kind of where the stones are. Daub, daub, daub. You can mix these up a little bit. I'll just do this one small area here. I know it's hard to see on the camera. I don't know if there's anything you can do about that. So that was a warm gray 3. I'm gonna come in with, I don't go any more than 5. Let's see, that's a cool gray 3. Let's try that. Oh, that one's much better. I'm just kind of going around, just kind of daubing around. All we want to do is know these are stones. And I'm just daubing around, daub, 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 daub. Now, as it sits, they're all kind of like grays, right? So don't be afraid to come in with like a, I don't know, maybe like a pale sepia or something like that, because you wanted some different color stones in there. I'm not sure about that one. You know, I don't think I like that pale sepia. How about, sorry, I'm trying to find my right color here. That's pale sepia. That's not what I want. I had a desert tan. That actually might look good in there. I'm just trying, you know, different color stones, you know, just like the stones in between. And all I'm trying to do is create that effect. Does it look like stones? Let me zoom out a little bit. Oops, wrong way. Without the yellow one there, that's kind of where we're going with it. We're just trying to create the texture for the stones. Let's see. I didn't put any trees on this one, did I? You probably have some trees. They're probably doing something, you know, like this. And then you've got, I don't know, you got a tree in the background, something like that. Right? Maybe you got one up here. Maybe another one over here. Right. So you got some trees in the background. So the guy that, again, that trained me, sort of the same thing. Think about where the sun's coming in. The sun's coming in on mine from the left. So it's going to be a little bit more sun up in here. Just daubing this, and maybe a little less sun on the other side. Now, don't make rocket science out of this, okay? We're just trying to crop the building and give it sort of a, you know, get some trees in there. There's a color for the cypresses that worked really well. It's called slate green, and I think I forgot that. Should have turned this marker over, but I didn't. Slate green. This is almost like a kind of a weird blue green, but it works really well for the cypresses. I didn't turn this marker over, so it's going to be not quite as bubbly as I would like. So what I like doing on the first one is just make a pass on the cypresses like that. Leave a little white in there. Now, which way is the sun coming in, from the left or the right? It's coming in from the left, which means it's going to be darker on the right. Watch what I'm doing. Do you see that? Watch the tree. So I'm basically setting this marker up. So I'm creating the darker side on one side of the tree. Plus the markers work better when you go the second time around. They tend to bubble better. See how they're kind of more watercolory on that side. So again, I do the first pass, just kind of pass it, just right, like that. Just don't be all that careful. And then let it dry, give it a couple seconds. So what it does is it kind of creates sort of like a starter. And then when you pass through it again, you get that nice bubbling effect. And I want that on the non-sun side if you're going to do that on the, on the foliage. Okay, I'm not going to do all of the, I've got the garage door and all that stuff. I would do, I'll do that really fast. Garage door is going to be probably like the front door. It's going to be like a burnt umber. So, go something like this. Just be careful with the burnt umber. I'm warning you, be careful with the burnt umber. I buy some of my burnt umbers. I don't know why it's that color, but they gush. I've had a few people, they did a really good job and they were almost done. And they went to their front door and they dropped that burnt umber on it and it just went kapoosh and it wiped out the entire front. So just be careful with that. If you touch it off to the side, that's okay. And then just kind of maneuver it around, fill in the area first. I do it like this and then just kind of, move it around a little bit. I want a watercolor effect. So, let it do its thing. Can you see the puddle? Kind of bright, kind of shiny, then disappears. That's what you want. Just a little bit. You can see it kind of gush in there. Notice there's still a little white in there. That's what I want. Moving it around, leave a little white in there. You should see a little bit of that puddling going on. Boom. Now, some of you have trim around the outside of your windows, and it is that chocolate brown, and some of you have it on the inside as well. So if that's the case, turn the pen so it's kind of, on the pointy part, and then just barely touch. It doesn't take much. If you push down too hard or you leave it too long, it's going to whoosh, and you're going to lose your detail. All right. And you're just gonna, basically, I'm not done yet, but you get the basic idea. I'm pretty close to done, huh? I mean, I didn't do this little roof right here. Now the fascia boards, looks like I forgot that one. What's gonna basically happen here is you're gonna have a brown on the gables. It'll be you'll see a little peekaboo of the fascia board, and then you're gonna see a little peekaboo of the roof. And just kind of get it close. You might do something like this. Call that a day. Don't get all like in the weeds, just kind of like that, boom, done. Does that make sense? Because the tiles are kind of covering the fascia board a little bit. This is going to be, of course, like this, right? You can have your roof, whatever, and then your fascia board, would be in the front. All right, now for the fun part. I'm going to widen this just a little bit. Zoom out. Oops. Keep doing that. So here's your paper. All right. I'm going to make sky. I don't know if I want to go all the way to the top here. So we go a long piece of tape. It's long enough. I'm going to tape. I find a little short. I'm going to tape this right about here. Made my tape too short. Darn it. That's right. What I want is I'm going to do this sky, and I don't want to go any higher than where I was at there. So something about like that. Okay. So the way the sky is going to go, you're going to be using either a light blue or an aqua. And it's going to go something like this. I think now if you have the really long piece of paper, I'm gonna have you tape it this way as well. But for the people with the short paper, this is gonna be fine. What's he doing? I haven't left these markers tipped over long enough, so they're just going a little slow. I'm not going very fast. I'm just swirling. I'm not going like this. I'm just making little circles. Trying to get a good amount of blue on there. Just like this, all the way across. Don't worry about staining the lines or anything like that. Just kind of, I want this thing to kind of go up and down. Can you see his on the other screen? I'm going to create that kind of effect. Here's how I'm going to do it. Let's see, where's that? I'm looking for. Okay. There it is. Okay. You guys are going to be using caddies to keep your markers turned this way. So don't just put them on the desk. You want to keep them so that the markers are down so that that gush continues. So this is a blender. Guess what color it is? Correct. Actually, it's no color at all. It's basically just a solvent marker. So let's see if I hope this works. Let's see, zoom in. If I don't have a good one, it's not going to work at all. And if I have a good one, it's going to work perfectly. So the idea is we're going to be basically pushing this color into itself and forming. If you guys can you guys see that happening there? Can you see it kind of dark blue, kind of edgy right there? So what's happening is a solvent pen. It's working pretty good there. See it kind of flowing. See that little blue edge there? That's going to give you the edge of the cloud, kind of the silver lining. And we're just going to push that around. You don't have to go very far. You're just kind of working around. I usually push perpendicular. You can even rotate this if you want and kind of move it this way and just kind of push it into itself and just kind of get that going. This one's working really well. It's kind of a newer one. And that's what you want. And just pushing it into itself. And you just keep working it. Just going to work my way around. Work my way around. Now this looks terrible right there. That's not the cloud I want, right? That's not the shape I want. So what I'm going to do is when I get up there, you can say it looks like a dog, right? Let's see. Just going to move it around. See, I'm kind of forming the cloud. So as you push the solvent marker, the blender into the color, you're basically taking the color and pushing it into itself, which forms this really cool little blue line, which looks like a cloud edge. And they look really cool. And you do that all the way across. I'm not going to finish that because you don't want to watch me do that, but all the way across, right? It should be pretty far down. Like this, I probably didn't do a very good job there. I probably should have moved that a little bit farther down. So you go, wow, I should have moved that a little bit farther down because my cloud's kind of floaty a little bit. So I'm just going to go like this. I'm just going to come in and just reshape that. Get that cloud a little closer to the building. Just don't let it all hover above too much. Let it get down there pretty far. And then you can start working it again. And work that cloud into the shape that you want it to be. Using the blender. You know, and so on. You just kind of work it. You get that little blue edge there. Don't worry about this extra right here. It's not a big deal. Okay, once you've got that, then you're going to do your shadows. So your shadow is going to be a warm gray 7, which y'all know about. I like doing this after the coloring and you just go right over the top. You know where they are and just kind of tap, 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 and just work that shadow where it is. And it's wherever it is, wherever it is. It's going to be in here and the door. I know some of it, if you have a dark door, you're not going to see a lot of it, but do it anyway. It's going to be here underneath the eaves. Just kind of tap, 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 tap. You can leave a little bit of white in there. That's okay. See it kind of happen in there. And then this is all shadow in here. So this is where you're going to start working that marker. Keep it inside the area where you got the shadow. Right over the stones. That's fine. Right. That's what happens. That's what we're doing. And then here. Have that fine liner there, the fine liner line there first. And up here. Right, wherever you happen to have shadow. Am I missing one? Again, with the foliage, don't be afraid to get a little creative, like for example, I could do pale olive, for example, and I go, I'm going to do some olive in here. It's not rocket science. We're just trying to create a little done. If you want to put a lighter color in there, maybe come in with like a celery, which is a really, lighter color. You could do that on the top to show that this is receiving a little sun. Just daub it around a little bit. Boom. If you have pots and stuff like that, just find a color that looks good for them and, color the pots, whatever they are. There might be a little, there might be a little color for, the plants up here, just kind of get that in. That was hard to see on the camera. So this is kind of, it's not rocket science. It's just, we're just trying to show the client what it looks like. I'm hoping that you can do one of these things in color in like 20 minutes. But it'll take you longer than that the first time because you're organizing colors and trying to figure it out. Once you have your mindset going, they go really, really fast. And that's the idea. I want to train you how to give me ideas on your designs without spending 5 hours on a stinking sketch. Okay. Because I can't have that. I want one of these. I say, what? I really don't like your window. I really don't like your breezeway opening. Give me another one where you don't go, oh crap, this is going to take me a week. You're going to go, okay, I can do that in half a period. Easy. From start to finish, from black and white all the way through to putting color on it. That's the game. When you're done with this, you're going to take the tape off. Now, those of you have longer paper, sorry, let me do one thing. Those of you have longer paper, word and tape, okay, is you're going to do this. Do it on both sides, kind of like right about there. Does that make sense? So you're not going all the way to the outside of your paper. So you know who you are with the ones with the longer paper, and just tape it like that, and then just run right to it. And that don't even go past it. When you're done, you're going to take the tape off, and you're going to carefully take the tape off. Please be careful because you don't want to rip your paper at this point. That would be really frustrating. Then what I want you to do, because there's more, is I want a white backing to this thing, because this right here is kind of hard to look at. So I want you to put this on a white back. Let me show you what I want you to look like. I think we did this once before. I like a white backing. So what you'll do is you'll just take this, get it on here, cut this, and cut this. And I want this on a white piece of paper. Just put a piece of tape on the bottom and the top. Didn't we do that on one of that first assignment, right? When we did like the bubble diagram with the elevation, remember that? And how did you put it on a white piece of paper in the back? I want you to do the same thing with this one. So you have to find a way to cut it, right? Just find scissors or whatever, and then just use a piece of clear tape on the top and bottom. Just want 2 pieces. Don't be putting like packaging and stuff on the outside. And that's the way you're going to turn it into me. It's a chance to kind of fart around with the colors. Don't be afraid to like use your test one. Y'all have a light flimsy one, right? Feel free to have that out and just kind of daub the color and make sure you know what you're getting. And it's a good practice piece because that's what it's for you. Now, it won't go on the same. It's going to go on a little different, but it'll give you an idea what the color is and if your marker's working correctly and stuff like that. Okay. Last thing. I am almost done. This Word document that I was talking about, I'm going to close it and then open it. Watch screen. X drive, labs down, read only, right? And then go to the intro folder. And I think if you go date modified, it should be Tuscan colors. So what that's going to give you is basically what I did. So first thing, paper underneath the heavy flimsy, right? So the ink doesn't bleed on my desktop. And then you're going to start, I would start with the stucco plaster and do a warm gray 1 base. And it doesn't matter what kind of stucco you're going to do. Having the warm gray 1 first and then putting your color on will make it daub better. And then I gave you some choices on maybe colors you could use for the stucco. You can't just do anything you want. It's a Tuscan home, so you got to keep with the Tuscan colors. If you're not sure, ask me and I'll tell you whether the color you picked is okay. But don't be putting on green for your stucco color, because I will laugh at you, okay? After all that work. Stones, I gave you the warm gray 1 base and I gave you some colors that you could use. The brick, kind of the same thing. Start with the warm gray 1 base and then some possible, the brick's a little weird. And then I gave you the roof colors, the fascia board, burr number. Your foliage, that one is a little bit more kind of do what you want to do. I gave you some options, but it's up to you. Doors and windows, gave you some information there, the shadows, the ground line, fine liner B and warm gray. There's the sky, what I want from you. Make sure you do your lettering and then put the backing on. So this is pretty much everything I'm looking for. When's it due? Wednesday. So you got lots of time. I mean, some of you are like ready to color now and you'll be done in 20 minutes, and maybe not 20 minutes, maybe half an hour. And then you're going to be ready for the next one. Cool. All right. Let's get this party started.